Wednesday, July 30th. I'm Rim.
I'm the baddest motherfucker in the world.
And it's the Juggernaut. Tonight we talk about on Geeknights, the Surrogates.
Let's do this.
So the other day, Emily and I were going to watch some anime, but we ended up running into a problem where either the soft subs wouldn't work or I couldn't make them work, so we gave up.
You push J.
And it didn't work.
Then you push pound sign.
Didn't work.
Well, then that means the file is messed up.
Yeah, there was something weird with it.
A lot of people have been getting worse at encoding lately, and if there's a problem with those files, just delete
Yeah,
them.
because I tried to open it later in VLC, and it just wouldn't even open, so...
Yep, so it's a broken file, delete it.
But then, all right, what are we going to watch? So I start trolling through until I find something that works, and I end up picking the first episode of the Birdie the Mighty remake.
Birdie the Mighty Decode.
You know what? It's pretty damn good. And I really like it.
Because I watched one episode of the original, and it was so
okay.
It was so.
Here's the thing.
So I didn't watch the new one.
It's one of those old school like comedy action shows, and if you're looking for that
What's
sort of
up
thing,
with the comedy action show remake, Slayer's Revolution? Huh?
You know what? Because there's been a distinct lack of good comedy action shows lately.
Maybe.
And I note something else because I realized something. Watching Birdie the Mighty Decode is really good. Like I really enjoyed the first episode to a surprising degree, and so did Emily.
All right.
It ended, and we're like, so I feel like I want to watch more of that. And she's like, yeah, me too. Who would have thunk it?
Uh-huh.
But the Birdie the Mighty. I think what really made it stand out was that the humor. It seems like a lot of anime lately is really the humor is expected and stereotypical and just. I don't know, maybe it's just the tropes of the era, but I don't find it that funny. But a show like Slayers, they don't quite go the wacky anime humor where they just hit you with something out of the blue, but they hit you with unexpected jokes, at least occasionally.
Well, the thing is they have their own set of Slayers jokes that they made. Like, they're in an inn. That inn ain't surviving. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
You know it's not going to happen, but you know what? It don't matter, because you just got to see how it happened.
Or there's got to be a fish man. But
it doesn't matter, because you could just put a fish man on screen and instant funny.
I can point out one other thing, though. There's been a distinct lack of interesting, well-choreographed action scenes in anime lately.
That's for sure.
I've heard, we haven't watched enough Black Lagoon, but people have said that there are good action scenes in that. And, Birdie the Mighty, a lot of shows lately, they have the kind of slow pan, action line, slow pan of the face, guy yelling, Naruto, all that stuff. Or like a special move, like in, One Piece. This was some straight up just action anime, and it really made me nostalgic for some anime I used to watch when I was younger.
Speaking of anime you watched when you were younger, I finished the Escaflowne like a week or so ago.
Man.
And I've been watching the Evangelion for the second time on the iPhone.
You're not, I'm a huge Escaflowne fan. Like, I've seen the show like 6 times.
I've seen it 2 times.
So, I gotta ask, as someone who watched it once in marathon format at like the height of our anime fandom to watching it again today, older, more sober, more wise, is that a good show?
Yeah, it's a good show. I don't know why you wouldn't want to watch that show.
Yeah, because I don't know. It seems like it's getting a little bit of hate lately.
Why would it be getting hate?
I don't know. I consider it one of the best shows ever made. Not top 3, but definitely top 10.
No, easily.
Not counting movies. You can't count movies because it's this whole different ball game.
Yeah, definitely. Unlike it's like, it was weird because I watch a new anime, right? And I watch an episode. And I might continue to watch episodes, and that's all right. But with Escaflowne, I watched an episode, and I actually had an incredibly strong desire to watch the next episode.
See, because when a show like that's happening, you'll be almost done with an episode on the train, and you'll be pissed that you're home.
Yep. Or I'll be like trying to get out of work and turn it on as quick as I can. But anyway, I got the same issue going on with the Evangelion, perhaps even more so. It's like, I understand, like, in my mind, why people are sort of, some people like Evangelion and some people don't. But I'm pretty sure the people who don't are just morons. Evangelion, I'm watching that again. If Escaflowne is a top 10 show, watching Evangelion again, I think I just got to say flat out, it's the number 2 show behind Cowboy Bebop.
I think I have to agree.
On my iPhone, with this incredible shitty video quality, this thing is better animated than any anime I've seen, except, not counting movies and such. Like, not counting like a Satoshi Kon or a Studio 4C or an Akira or anything like that.
Or the big budget things like Standalone Complex is pretty damn well animated.
I think Evangelion is better animated than Standalone Complex.
Well, I can say one thing. There's more detail that matters in Evangelion.
Maybe if Evangelion was made today with all the CG, it would look like Standalone Complex. But I think I like Evangelion. I think the way it looks is better. Not just the way it looks. Like, I watch an episode and I am desperate to watch the remainder. Well, it's like right now I could just stop doing this and go keep watching. Well, and this is on a tiny iPhone. It looks better than all these other shows on television.
I think part of it is that a lot of people, it seems like there's this whole kind of subculture of anime fans who they feel like they have to hate on whatever shows are popular or were popular in the past in order to, I don't know, be hip. I don't get it. Because there were flaws. Ava's not a perfect show by any stretch. It has its flaws. But most of the complaints people have basically boil down to, it's actually deep, or, I don't understand it, so I say it's just pretentious.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things you could say about the end, but I'm like 14 episodes in at this point, and it doesn't matter if the end sucks. Those are 14 of the best animated 20-minute episodes that have ever been created in the entire history of the world.
I think it's fair to also say that if you step out from the enjoyment of the show or the message of the show, I'm totally okay with you saying that Anno pulled a crap move by saying to all of his fans, all right, kids, I couldn't come up with a good way to end this, and I had something to say. I tricked y'all into watching my show with giant robots. Now I'm going to lecture at you for 2 episodes. But at the same time, I feel as though the lecture was good enough and the message was good enough to almost justify that.
Well, you can easily justify the original ending, artistically, but it's hard to justify it from an entertainment factor that the other episodes do have.
See, one thing I can say though is that it really hit. I mean, I remember watching the end of Ava the first time. And I think it was good the way it ended that way because it really hits you over the head with, the show kind of ends at episode 24. And then you see these hints of like what happened in the real world. And they're kind of like, they come and go. And then you get this whole kind of, well, here's what the point of the show was. And here's everything we were trying to say. And that, I'll admit, I cried at the end at, the clapping and all that business.
Yeah.
I think
we're just spoiling the whole show.
Clapping what? Well, who was clapping for who and for what?
Clap for your mom.
But I cried at the end there because I think the way the end was put together was just so absolutely perfect. But anyway, do you have is there a reason you're doing that?
I don't know.
What was that?
A song.
A song from... Were you trying to do the song from the movie?
You know what song I'm doing.
Tumbling Down?
Maybe.
Didn't come through. Anyway.
It sounded right to me.
You know what? All we have to do, I realize, is take the show end of Ava and the non-crazy parts of the movie end of Ava and cut them together into the actual end of Ava.
Here's the other thing, the last thing I want to say about the Evangelion before we get on with this, right? I've seen the show once. I watched all the VHSs sort of one at a time, like once a week or so. And then I watched again all the VHSs in a marathon. And this is only the 3rd time I'm watching the whole thing. And it's been at least 5 years since I've seen the whole thing. And I'm watching on, I guess, DVDs converted to iPhone format. And there is absolutely nothing so far in 14 episodes that is not crystal clear and absolutely obvious. But the thing is a lot of it, you just have to pay the fuck attention.
I mean, I remember a scene in particular where Kaji's like, shit, see ya, and he flies away in that Harrier.
Yep.
And he's got that thing in that briefcase.
Yep, there's some things in the show that someone will say something very quickly, or there'll be a scene that was very short, or there'll be, literally like a 5-second scene, like at the end of an episode. And if you don't remember that, you'll be a little confused. And because, the the sort of the context of what's going on in any given episode changes pretty rapidly. Like, you won't piece things together between sort of when they're happy hanging out drinking in the apartment, or when they're fighting a monster and the robots, and when they're talking all serious business.
Well,
you know, like you're or with this weird stuff going on that's all secret, and you have to connect all those things in your mind and keep all the context, consciously thinking about them in order to get what's going on. But it's not hard.
Well, plus, when I think about it, Ava, what it did is it did something that actually a newer show, Bokurano, also did really well, where there's a surreal or crazy thing is happening. In Ava, it's God is coming down to kick your ass, humans. It's the end of the world.
Yep.
But it's literal. Like, it is literally happening, and here are real people dealing with it. And the fact that people don't always cope with things like that so well. And Bokurano did that in the same way. And it adds this really kind of, I don't know, having normal characters and a perfectly real setting, but yet the context beyond that is something absolutely crazy. But yet sane people have to deal with it in a sane manner.
Yeah, and even though there's things people don't know, and there are things you don't know, I mean, you know that, like, it's the end of the world here, right? If they fail, it's game over. And that's all and everyone knows that. And it's like, wow, but they're more concerned with these other things. And, it's just, they don't say it too often, but you have to keep that in mind. Anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to turn this into the Ava show. Though I feel like we need to do a show someday in the future. I don't know, Ava, Teach the Controversy.
We got to do Ava. We got to do some Ava something.
Because I just feel like
everyone else seems to shy away from the Evangelion. I'm not shy.
Because I feel as though Ava gets a bad rap among people who either didn't understand it, saw it once a long time ago, or like hating on it.
Yep. Or have misconceptions about it and never seen it. Yeah,
and granted, some of that is justified. For example, Anno, a little bit crazy.
Well, yeah, it's crazy people make good things.
Yeah. But at the same time,
just like drugged up people make good things.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
Remember when they put those spiders on acid? They did not make good webs.
No, but they made much more awesome to look at webs.
So anyway, this weekend, the end of July, the beginning of August.
As in August 1, 2, 3.
In Hartford, Connecticut.
In the Hartford Connecticut Convention Center? I don't know what it's called.
I don't know.
It's the only convention center in Hartford. Well, I guess the Hartford Civic Center is no more, right? So
I don't know. I don't know anything about Connecticut.
It's connected to a Marriott.
Connecticut? I see a coincidence.
No, it's off 84.
So we are going to be at ConnectiCon, which is a fun anime con we've attended for the last several years.
It's not really an anime con. It's sort of a general geek con.
You know what? I'll put it this way. It has all the trappings of an anime con, but it is actually an anime webcomics geek con.
Yeah, it's got anime webcomics, video gaming, tabletop gaming, sort of in relatively equal parts, but in the dealer's room you'll find mostly anime and manga, I guess in proportion to other things, and the kind of people who go there tend to be more the anime manga type. It feels like a small anime convention, but it has everything going on. Like, there are old guys who will come and play Warhammer the whole time, and that's all they'll do.
See, it's a con where you walk into any given part of the con, and it's basically a completely different con. Like, you walk into the gaming side, and it's just, you might as well be at UberCon. But then you walk out, and you see cosplayers. And then you go into the panel area, and it's all webcomics.
And you go to the dealer's room, and it feels like an anime con dealer's room.
Yep.
But then there's a couple guys in there, there's like webcomics in there that are selling their stuff. And there's also, a few things in there that don't fit. Like, there's a comic book store that's set up in there, and you're like, huh. Comic book store set up in here.
One thing ConnectiCon has always been really good about, and I always want to give them props for this, is that they always let us experiment. We do all these panels and all these cons, but ConnectiCon is kind of where we test drive all of our new panels. And some panels have died their sad, rightful deaths at ConnectiCon, never to be released to the public.
Well, Challenge on Fire should have had that fate.
Yes,
I said it should have, but you didn't let it be.
We kept striking it with lightning, but it just
you
kept
did.
getting more and more burnt.
I was trying to shovel it into the ground, and you were busy with your Frankenstein action.
It's still good. It's still good.
Right.
So we're doing, as always, quite a few panels, but not nearly as many as we did last year.
That's good.
So yes, I'm not going to bother with the times. I'll tell you this, though. Every panel we are doing is going to be on Saturday. So if you really want to see us do panels, come on Saturday. We're doing the anime match game in the morning.
All right.
We're doing anime you should see. We're doing how to run an anime club, which if you've ever seen the Anime Club Summit or how we've run this at other places, we run it completely differently at ConnectiCon.
Yep.
It's a balls to the wall. Here's exactly how to do it. We don't let the audience talk because no one knows what they're doing.
Yep.
We're doing Beyond Dungeons and Dragons, the first time
man.
run. This is the one that we're going to be running at the Penny Arcade Expo.
We're
Not
doing a
too
little
long
test
from now.
run, little test run.
And of course, we are doing the Geeknights late night guest interview. Now, this
Yeah.
one is special because I think they were in a hurry to get the con book out. The description of this event basically is the text that I wrote to them in suggesting the panel, unedited. So it basically says, yeah, we've done this panel before. It's pretty easy. We just need you to provide us a guest. If you can't provide one, I know Ananth will be there. He's our friend. We could interview him, Apple Geeks and all that.
That's literally what it says in the con book. That's what we wrote in the email to them, and they copied and pasted that into the con book. Not so professional, ConnectiCon. This is why you're our sandbox, and we don't take you seriously. If you want us to take you seriously, maybe you shouldn't, be a little more professional.
But at the same time, I still got to ask Ananth, but I'm sure he'll do it. So you might get to see us interview.
He'll be there.
Yes, he'll be there. Yeah. I imagine, actually, if you come to the Geeknights guest interview on Saturday night, it is going to be a very informal, very awesome roundtable with a lot of really cool people.
Probably. If nothing else, it'll be us talking to you. So whatever.
Or we'll just talk to Ananth and you'll all get to sit there and watch.
Yeah, another thing is that a lot of the panels there, I mean, the anime match game will probably be loaded, but the vast majority of the panels you run there have very low attendance. Not because of
Except How to Run an Anime Club, which was standing room only.
Yeah, and it's not because of anything wrong with us. It's just that's the way the con is. There's not,
Wait, what's with this making the pre-hawk anti-trash talk?
What? It's true.
Watch this. You're like, oh, just in case you show up and no one's at our panel, it has nothing to do
Well,
with
we'll
us.
be at the panel no matter what. Even if there's only one person there, we still run the panel because that's what we're doing. We're testing the panel. As long as we have an audience of one person we don't know, that's enough to test it out.
But anyway, I just want to point out that we're running some pretty good panels. Also, Katsunori Matsushita is going to be there. I didn't look at the schedule when, but he should be running kendo workshops and a kendo panel. But
who knows
the con might have screwed up the scheduling on that, so I can't promise anything.
And the rest of the time when we're not doing panels, we're going to be in the game room gaming it up.
Yes, Saturday and Sunday, a portion of the front row crew, our kind of staff, will be in the game room at the Geeknights table running all sorts of game demos, Burning Wheel, German board games.
We'll be in there on Sunday, but we have associates who will be in there possibly Friday and definitely Saturday while we're doing panels.
If you want us to teach you how to play a German board game, and not just teach you the rules, but teach you how to win.
Yeah, and also Burning Wheel.
Yes, if you're curious what this Burning Wheel business that we've been going on and on and on and on about for the last 2 years,
this is the place. Come to ConnectiCon, and even if we're not there, somehow something goes wrong, the people who run the gaming room at ConnectiCon are the best.
Of course.
They're our kind of people.
ConnectiCon is
except they like Age of Steam, and we don't.
ConnectiCon is like an
But they taught us to play Age of Steam.
Away. Actually, I like Age of Steam, but I don't like playing it.
That means I don't like it.
But I like the concept, because think about it. I've always said, man, I hate games with catch-up mechanisms. I want it to be hardcore, like in Initial D.
That's the opposite of a catch-up mechanism.
Yes, like in Initial D. I always turn off the boost. But then I played Age of Steam, which is possibly
seriously turning off the boost and
turning on
the engine slowly dies mechanism.
It's not the engine slowly dies. It's the game just starts raping you. The console itself just straps you down.
Great.
All right. Now, we're turning this into the con schedule like we've talked about a lot. But, we're on summer sabbatical, so we're not doing as many shows as usual. So I think we should talk about what we're doing the weekend after ConnectiCon.
So the week directly after ConnectiCon.
Oh, God.
I'm only going to be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because on Thursday, we're driving down to Bmore for the annual Otakon.
Man, Otakon, it's because, the story of our con going was pretty much...
I've been to Otakon since 2002.
In 2002, Scott and I went
is it going to be the 6th or 7th Otakon?
OhioCon 2, which was... And we'd never been to an anime con
It's the 7th
before.
Otakon we've been to.
And we were like... And everyone told us all these stories like, oh my God, this anime convention is going to be the best thing ever. We got there, and it was so lame that I thought the anime con circuit was crap and everyone was lying, and I was so jaded. And then we were like, all right, if we're gonna go to one, let's go to one more. Let's try the big ones. We went to Otakon, and good God.
Yeah.
It's always been this kind of rite of passage among people who we met who were anime fans who had never been to an anime con to get them to Otakon, take them into the dealer's room, and watch their reaction to how large it is.
The thing is, that reaction is much diminished now that the internet is much better.
True,
with the
true.
Back in those days, and you couldn't get anime anything in '02, and you saw that dealer's room, it was just like pee your pants. Nowadays, that dealer's room doesn't have a lot of stuff you can't get more easily, so it's not so exciting. But just seeing the size of one of those, the dealer's room, and then someone tells you the artist alley is half that size. Oh, and the video game room is also half that size. Oh, and there's like 20 other rooms that are all this size.
So, in the tradition of every Otakon since the first, we're once again not paying for Otakon. Now, we said before we're doing some panels, but we're actually now doing, due to a long series of circumstances, 5 panels at Otakon.
5 panels?
Yes, we were originally...
I did 7 at ConnectiCon, so I'm doing almost as many Otakon panels as I was doing.
Luckily, one of these panels we don't have to do crap for, because one of them is Katsunori Matsushita's Kendo, Way of the Sword.
All right, so that doesn't actually count.
All that has to go on...
I mean, it does for awesomeness, but
all
doesn't
we have
count
to
for
do with
doing.
that one is film it, which you can handle.
All right.
And I'm going to be on stage to fulfill my obligation to the RIT Kendo Club.
Oh, you're going to do that?
As
Fine.
its undefeated vice president, I have to be defeated.
We'll see if that happens.
And but in addition, I'm probably going to be up there and like stand, with the armor on so we can demonstrate stuff. And Katsu does a pretty damn good Kendo panel.
Yep.
But also on Friday,
I don't know who could do a better one. I mean, maybe if there was like
maybe Katsu's dad.
Maybe, but maybe.
So we're doing 3 panels on Friday at Otakon.
I guess that's good because then, because Friday usually it's like dealer's room's not open and, artist alley's not fully set up yet and there's not a lot of action. So if I'm doing panels, Friday's a good day to do them at Otakon.
So Friday noon, anime you should see, which, as you know, that one's like so easy and done and awesome. Like it's gotten a really good reception.
Yeah. If you already know about a lot of anime and you listen to our show, you probably don't need to go to that panel unless you just want to see us.
Yes.
That panel's for people who think they're like, the Narutards. They like Naruto and maybe they like Dragon Ball, but they don't really know anime.
Yep. I mean, think about it. Nowadays, say you get into anime, and you like, I watch.
You know what's on TV.
Yeah, I watched dumb stuff when I was a kid, and until someone told me, the RT Anime Club was like, "Hey, watch this show called Cowboy Bebop."
Like kids these days don't even know what Escaflowne is.
And I was like, "Cowboy Bebop? That sounds stupid." And then someone else was like, "Yes, it's the episode where Spike fights Vicious." And I'm like, "Oh, so it's some stupid fighting show with stupid names." But then at 3, we were running comics for the manga reader.
Oh, I didn't prepare anything for that panel. Is that going to be an off-the-cuff panel?
I think we're going to have some slides for that when I'm working on it.
All right. We should just
we should bring a copy of each one of those comics.
We
We're
should just
talk
pick
about.
out like 10 comics that manga readers should read, and then
yes. Again, if you listen to our show, you probably don't need to go to that one. We're gonna tell people to read, Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, that sort of thing. Scott
Sandman,
Pilgrim,
Fables.
Yeah, because a
Runaways.
lot of manga readers. They seem to eschew anything American comic, assuming that it's all just
I don't
underwear
think it's that they
perverts.
eschew it so much. It's that they just really don't know. It's they go to Borders, they look at the manga shelf, which is nice and neat and easy to look at, right? And then there is a U.S. graphic novel shelf, or at least a non-manga graphic novel shelf, but it's a big mess and it's confusing and it's mostly superheroes, which aren't very enticing, and they don't take the time to look through it and really get to know it or anything. They don't know anything about it. And it's more expensive than the manga in an unfamiliar, uneconomical format that doesn't fit on the shelf. So they're not really enticed by that, and they don't go to a comic book store. They only go to Borders, so they don't know. But they like manga. They like comics. They read all kinds of web comics. It's just they don't know to read The Watchmen. They don't know to read The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, they don't know to read The Runaways.
I wouldn't have known to read The Dark Knight Returns.
They don't
Someone
know
told
the
me
Fables
to.
exist. They might not even know the Scott Pilgrim exists if it wasn't, on the shelf next to the manga by accident.
So, and then last and possibly least, on Saturday morning, now, see, the deal was basically we were going to do one panel, and then they were like, all right, can you guys do 2 panels, please? We're like, okay. And then they're like, yeah, one thing led to another. Can you guys do an Advance Wars panel, because that's one of the things.
Advance Wars panel.
Basically, that was a panel that I put in to do it like ConnectiCon and test. It was something we could build up, and then it's a good, generic, easy, fun panel. But we decided not to do it anywhere. Then Otakon's like, we're desperate for more panelists. Can you do that panel? And
I'd rather do a different panel.
So I was like, listen, that's not our strongest offering. We'd rather do this other one called Comics for the Manga Reader.
Wait.
Yeah, so he's like, could you do both? And I was like, yeah. Do you need any more? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay. We can do the Kendo panel that we did last year. Fine.
What about the Know Your Creators panel?
Well, we're doing that Friday night.
Oh. Okay.
8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Great.
Scott did most of the groundwork for this panel, but I think it's going to be fantastic. We're going to test it, of course.
This is the panel that we worked hard on, the Know Your Creators panel, because people, they watch the animes and read the mangas, but they don't pay attention to who is the real people making this stuff, and it wasn't until I listened to the Anime World Order that I paid attention. So it's basically like, hey, pay attention to who the director is, asshole. It's important, and here's why. And here's who it is, just in case, because you didn't check.
And just so you're all aware, there is on Friday also, right before one of our panels, a Podcasting for Dummies panel. And I'm really curious who's running it.
I don't know. Didn't the Otaku Generation people do something like that last year?
I don't know.
I think they did. And it
I don't
was
want to rag
during
on
the, podcasting, too many people on the dais. Too many people on the dais at podcasting panels at the same time. Remember that?
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah. I'm not doing that again. From now on, there'll be no more than 3 people on any dais that I'm on a panel for.
Yes. Well, I can see a match game, but then again, they're all guests. That's
not a panel. It's a game.
And of course, you shouldn't need any provocation further to go to Otakon, because Otakon is far and away the best anime con in America. There's just no argument.
Really, no. There's biggest. There's nothing.
It's the biggest that matters. It's the best that's fun, and they've got Jam Project among other acts.
How could you, if you're able to go to Otakon, how could you not go? I mean, even if you just like anime or manga a little bit, why would you not go?
Hell, the concert alone is probably worth the cost of admission. Hell, the Artist Alley is probably worth the cost of admission.
Best Artist Alley outside of Comic-Con. And perhaps even better than that one, though not as big.
Yep. And
but
of course,
bigger than any other artist I've ever seen. I mean, think about this, right? The Baltimore Comic Convention. It's an entire comic convention. It fits in one room at the Baltimore Convention Center. One, convention room in the convention center.
Otakon doth overfloweth that convention center.
Otakon uses the entire convention center.
And
so
the
Artist
adjacent
Alley,
arena sometimes,
right.
And a club down the street.
The Artist Alley of Otakon is as big as the Baltimore Comic Convention. Take that as you will.
And of course, at the Penny Arcade Expo, we're doing Beyond Dungeons and Dragons. And at the New York Anime Festival, we're doing 4 panels.
No! Okay.
And we've already got our tentative list of events for KatsuCon. And
in February, no!
Of course, we'll be doing the usual awesome at KatsuCon.
Not being sick.
And we've already got some tentative rumblings. At New York Comic Con, we're probably going to be running events again.
It's still July. Don't talk to me about February. We didn't run events at New York Comic Con.
We were pressed.
We just went in as press and we did nothing.
This time, there's a good chance we're going to be running manga for the comics reader.
Oh, great.
Ho-ho.
Oh-ho.
I don't want to run more than that, actually. I'd rather be press at that con.
Yeah, it's the kind of con where I don't want to hang around for a long time because there's not much going on.
And of course, we're going to have at Otakon the gigantic front row
the
crew.
Otakon dealer's room is bigger than the New York Comic Convention floor space.
Think about that.
Think about that.
Think about that.
Think about that. Okay.
And of course, we have got tables F5, F6, F7, F8, F9, F10, F11, J7, J8, and J9 in the Artist Alley.
All right. Basically, at Otakon, when we're not doing something or we're not browsing around ourselves, I think, over 50% of the time the convention is open, we'll be in the Artist Alley at our Artist Alley conglomerate.
Our table, the one we will be sitting at with our stuff, will be either F5 or F6. I haven't decided yet.
It doesn't really matter.
Nah, it doesn't matter. It's not like you'll find F5 and be like, where the hell are they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You will find us easily. You can just go to the front Artist Alley table and say, where's Geeknights? And they'll say, this table, right there.
Man, this is going to be a nutty couple of weeks.
I've already lost my nuts, so
Great. So in other news, I just want to point out that Baccano got licensed, and I think that's great because I think that's going to be a great show. I only watched the first...
why didn't someone license that sooner? They said that there was like stupid things that were licensed before that. It makes no sense.
You want to know why? You want to know why? I'll bet it's because...
The people licensing don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I'll bet they do know, but the Japanese company had one of those, you can't license that. You can't license that yet.
Oh,
you can license it, but you gotta wait.
Someone's got to muscle around these Japanese companies. You know, if you don't muscle them around, you're not going to, it's basically, you have no choice. If you do as they want you to do, you're going to go out of business because you're going to be doing bad business. If you, muscle them around, you have two options: succeed in business or not do business at all. So if you're not going to muscle them around, which is your only chance of succeeding, don't do anything.
I think...
Why resign yourself to failure?
I think the time of muscling, however, is nigh because, as you all know, the anime industry in America is going down the pooper. Without that whoop at the end, it's just...
Sploosh.
So, as, properties and money dry up in the U.S. and licensors go out of business or downsize and things go on, the Japanese companies are going to notice that the market in America is shrinking and that, look what happened to Bandai Visual. Eventually, they're going to realize, wait a minute, we're not selling anime over there anymore in that gigantic untapped market. Why not? And then when
it's your fault.
So if there's only one licensor left in America, or maybe two, and that one licensor is the only chance you have of getting your new show released in the U.S., other than doing it yourself and failing, and they want to negotiate, you might have to negotiate.
No, you see, here's the problem. The reason...
They'll pull a super Aguri?
Yeah, pretty much is they have this very rigid way of thinking where, having lower license prices or having reasonable, not stupid terms on the licenses and things like that is not even something they consider. They only consider things outside of that. Their mind is locked in that particular area, and like changing that seems to be something that is not, it's like they act as if that's the way when you're doing it's like trying to invent something, right? If I'm trying to make a machine, I just take the third law of thermodynamics, in fact, all the laws of thermodynamics, as a given, right? I don't try to think, this would only work if I could break, that law of thermodynamics. Let's go for it. I think, I need to break the law of thermodynamics. Can't do that. Got to think of some other solution. To them, changing the way they do licensing is like a scientist or an inventor breaking the law of thermodynamics. They go, we could change the licensing. Oh, no, that's not possible. We have to think somewhere else.
See, I think part of the larger problem, and I think Anime World Order mentioned this too, but the fact that, look at Otakon. All right, the anime industry is tanking, and yet Otakon is going to have 25,000 plus anime fans spending gobs of money for an entire weekend.
Mostly on merchandise.
But at the same time, but also on cheap DVDs.
Cheap ones.
But here's the thing. They don't look at that. What they see is, all right, Buffy the Vampire Slayer doesn't get 25,000 fans. Seinfeld doesn't get 25,000 fans in a building talking about Seinfeld. We can make money off of this. Look at how excited these people are. Yes, but they don't think, how do I make money off of it? They think, I'm going to make money off of it.
Well,
and then they don't.
They do think how, but their idea of how is wrong because they don't realize, these are poor high school kids with no money. And they don't realize that, people don't want DVDs anymore. People don't want DRMs. They don't get the details right because they don't know. They're stupid.
And I've said this before, but I don't think piracy has anything to do. All piracy did, I think, was speed up the demise of the anime industry in the U.S. by maybe a year. Maybe two. Because if all the piracy disappeared, it's not like DVD sales would pick up.
No.
Netflix might pick up, but that's not enough money to run an industry.
I'm confident that fan subs do not damage the anime industry. If someone is watching a fan sub, right? Let's say someone's watching a fan sub of Baccano right now, right? If that fan sub wasn't there, they wouldn't go out and buy the DVD. They just wouldn't watch. Someone who's going to buy the DVD is going to buy the DVD with or without the fan sub. People watching the fan subs are people who would not watch anime if fan subs did not exist. They just wouldn't watch at all. So it's not
they're the
work.
people
It's
who
like
they're the people who would watch it on TV. I mean,
Right.
I think the problem is that anime was treated as a special thing for a long time because it was this really
it's still
really
treated special.
Well, that's the problem. It was this really niche market, so they used a business model that worked really well in that tiny niche market with that specific kind of fan base.
It gets segregated from other television. It's like they have an anime block. It's like, oh, we'll put all the anime here. Just put the anime in with the other TV shows.
But see, that's the thing. The anime industry in the US is still treating anime like it's this special market when it's actually gotten much more broad mainstream appeal. But mainstream appeal doesn't mean anything because the mainstream is not going to go through the ropes of getting the content that if it's not just in the mainstream. Once anime is mainstream, it's got to be on mainstream TV. If it isn't, mainstream people, they're going to say, oh, it's that weird thing. I have to do the special blah, blah, blah. I got to buy a DVD box set to watch.
Anime has to be on TV when kids get home from school, and it has to be on TV, along with all the other shows that people are watching at the same time. When people are home at like 9 o'clock.
So,
not at 1 a.m, not when everyone's at, work. It has to be on when people get home and after dinner.
So, you got any anime news?
Oh, I don't have. Okay, I got some comics news here. Because, by the way, that announcement of Baccano licensing was, I believe, from the San Diego Comic Adventures last week, which we'll go to one day. One day.
Yeah, the problem
is it's become Hollywood convention and not so much comic convention.
Yes, I mean, look, it'd be like if we wanted to go to E3. There'd be no point. We'll just go to PAX.
Right. So, two important comics newses from the San Diego Comic Convention here. The first one is that Viz, this is not a surprise. We saw this coming a mile away, but, the last volume of Monster by Naoki Urasawa comes out in December. It'll be done. And then
I
maybe
gotta read that because I didn't like the anime so much, but the manga looked a lot better.
Yeah, I might try buying the rest of the manga now that I know it's going to be finished in December. But
yeah, I didn't want to read further and then have it suddenly dry up.
Yep. Now that that's done, they announced in, I think, January, February, of course, 20th Century Boys Volume 1 will be out. But also Pluto will be out from Viz. That's it. Got to be buying that. Guaranteed buy. You don't buy that, you're stupid. You don't buy both of those, you're stupid. And the other news is going to be some more Batman comics.
Oh, snap.
Wait. That's supposed to be news, right? There's Batman comics every month. Why is that news?
So either they're really bad Batman comics and you're about to make fun of them, or they've got someone awesome to write and or draw.
Oh, well, these Batman comics that are going to be coming out, I'm not going to give you any details. You can look it up. But there are going to be, in the future, Batman comics available for buying and reading that are written by someone with the first name Neil.
Neil Stephenson?
Yeah, because he's written so many comics.
Neil Armstrong?
Oh, because he's alive.
Neil Adams?
He did Batman comics already.
So he's not doing these Batman comics.
And he draws them. He doesn't write them. I don't think he writes them, but he mostly draws them.
Well, I said write or draw. I can't think of any more Neils I know.
Oh, okay. I guess I forgot. Let's just go on.
So anyway, things of the day. Now, we've talked in the past about AMVs, and we've got a couple of shows about AMVs. We interviewed Jeff Teterick a long time ago, talked about AMVs, but I got something a little bit different for you right now. You see, AMVs are old school, passé. I'm done with them. From now on, it's nothing but JMVs for me.
JMVs, those Jewish music videos?
No. Maybe
Japanese music videos?
Not even close.
New Jersey music videos?
These are, in fact, Juggernaut music videos.
Bitch!
It's all true. It's a problem.
Look, I'm the goddamn Juggernaut, bitch. I'm a break it.
Yeah. Hollywood Code.
Yeah, I'm a bad
Juggernaut is some rap shit. DF Dub, stand the fuck up. About to tell you who the fuck I am. Yeah. I'm the baddest motherfucker on the world. Come get your issue. I'm the baddest motherfucker on the world. I'ma get with you. I'm a beast. I'm a monkey. I'm a monster. You ain't stopping this. Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut. I'm the baddest motherfucker on the world. Come get your issue.
I don't know what it is about Juggernaut, but I find this hilarious.
Why is this still funny?
Maybe it's just us. Maybe we're just stupid.
Maybe it is just us, but this is still awesome and still funny, even though it's been played out. But it's like my conscious brain says, "Why this? Why is this funny? I don't know."
Meanwhile,
but then my gut goes, "Ha ha ha ha!"
Check it out. But
Okay.
this is
Check it out, bitch.
I'll admit, I kind of like this song because it's got everything that I like about this hip hop kind of beat, except it's not about raping my hoes. It's about being the juggernaut and killing people.
I'm the baddest motherfucker on the world. On the world. I'm the baddest motherfucker on the world.
So, yeah, I don't think any more needs to be said.
All right, so back in the day, like I'm talking when I was at RIT, I used to read this Japanese newspaper called the Mainichi Shimbun, right?
Yep.
And Mainichi is basically a daily Japanese newspaper, but you were for many, many years, you've been able to read it online in English for free, which is pretty cool because I could read, interesting Japanese newses, and I'd find out about like who is winning the sumo wrestling. I'd find out about, sometimes.
So who's winning the sumo wrestling? But did that matter to you at all? Who did you look at a picture of the guy?
There was a period of my life for about 4 months where I paid attention to it a little bit.
Tanaka lost the championship.
I think the guy's name was Takanohana or something. It's all Mongolians these days, actually, who are the sumo masters, the Yokozunas, whatnot. Anyway,
I'll say one thing: I do like sumo. I like watching sumo.
Yeah,
anyway.
because I watched it on the plane once. I was on a JetBlue flight and it was on ESPN2, and I watched like a whole bunch of sumo action. So I sort of got into it for a little bit. But I was also, you could find out about like crazy things that happen in Japan, famous people, and occasionally stories about what nerds were doing. And the best part about it, actually, that I liked the most was they'd have like these photo essays of things that were going on, like festivals and stuff. And somehow, even it's Japan, so there would always be like some Gundam or some Godzilla or something in there. So I remember this Christmas one. It was a Christmas photo essay, and there was a Godzilla made of lights. And I was like, it's Japan. But anyway, there was one column on there called YY, WAI. And the YY column always had weird shit in it. Like, we're talking scandalous and really sexual, kind of violent, weird, fucked up, charged things. Like, so-and-so, prostitutes and something else crazy, or so-and-so in a porno film, and all sorts of really fucked up, weird shit. And I accepted it because it's Japan. There's fucked up shit in Japan. It makes sense, right? And that was always sort of the fucked up shit column. And, Mainichi isn't really the New York Times of Japan. It's more like the Daily News of Japan. So it's not really, a highly respectable newspaper. But anyway, my thing of the day, if you go to mainichi.co.jp, I think you might have to go to /English. I'll link you there. It doesn't matter. They got this big announcement on the front page like, we're very sorry. Our YY column was full of shit and it was terrible journalism. It was mostly lies and made up crap. We're going straight now. We're going to give you higher quality, more respectable news. And I'm like, on the one hand, that's pretty, admirable, I guess, taking responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other hand, I like that crazy shit, and I want the crazy shit back. I don't care if it's lies. Just say it's lies.
But that's like reading the National Enquirer or the Weekly World News.
Right, but the thing that makes it better than National Enquirer or the Weekly World News is this. If I look at the National Enquirer or Weekly World News, right, there is no doubt in my mind that it's all complete bullshit, and it's just not entertaining, whatever. The YY was not that crazy. It wasn't like Bat Boy, right? It was just sort of like, famous person does something a little crazy, or some person is involved in some crazy, slightly unbelievable scandal. And it's like, I could believe it because it's Japan. And it sort of gave me this impression of Japan it enforced my idea that Japan had this crazy stuff going on. And I'm sort of sad to see that crazy stuff was less than I thought. I like thinking of Japan as the land of the crazy moon language and such.
I guess you've grown as a human.
Sad.
Learned some things.
I've grown
older,
along.
wiser, more incredulous.
I have grown along with the Mainichi newspaper. All right, so since we're preparing for conventions and we don't have a lot of free time here, we're going to do something kind of short. We're just going to talk about this graphic novel. The graphic novel is written by Robert Venditti, and the art is by, what does it say?
Brett Weldeley.
Weldeley, yeah. And it's published by Top Shelf. And if you don't know Top Shelf, you don't know comics, because Top Shelf prints all awesomeness. They print the Owlie. They print the Essex County. They print all the James Robinson stuff, like Box Office Boys and whatnot. Basically, they only print gold, and they don't print any poop. And one of the gold things that they print is the Surrogates, which is the comic we're talking about today.
Yep. Now, the one thing I want to point out is that the Surrogates, you buy the trade, and it's just one story start to finish. It begins, it ends.
Yep. There's no reason to buy anything else. It's one story, beginning to end, graphic novel. You're done, right?
Yeah, there's a sequel coming, but it's not out yet. It won't be out for a while.
They're also making a movie based on this comic. Supposedly, Bruce Willis will be involved, and he fits one of the characters, so it makes sense.
Bruce Willis had better be.
Yeah, that totally makes sense for this comic. If you read it, you'll see why.
Yes, I mean, basically...
Bruce Willis is a famous person I know.
You'll read this, and...
Fifth Element.
Yes. What else?
Armageddon, when they were drilling the hole in the rock.
Die Hard?
Oh, yeah, that one, too.
Yeah.
Feet.
Die Hard, the feet.
Yeah, that too. Okay.
All right, but if you read this, it'll read like it was not actually a comic, but a vehicle to provide Bruce Willis with another movie to be in.
It does seem like that in many ways. But even though it might seem like that, it's still an awesome comic, so why are you not reading it?
So the story here, the deal, is that it's the year 2050-something, far future. And actually, it's not that far away, and we'll probably be alive.
Probably.
God.
We'll probably be a lot more comfortable, though.
I hope so.
With much better than the iPhone.
I'm thinking more about having a mansion.
Possibly.
Yeah, that mansion over in Newburgh's not that expensive.
I'm thinking more like private jet.
Private jet? We could live on the jet. The jets that never land.
By 2050, if I save now, I can afford a private jet. I can fight inflation off. Anyway.
Or just, brain in a box. But anyway, so technology's progressed to the point that pretty much everyone in the world, at least in the civilized world, uses something called a surrogate to go about their daily lives.
Yeah, anyone who has money. If you ever read Ghost in the Shell, especially the second one, right? You'll note that the Major uses sort of like these dummy bodies or sort of decots, like remote decoy bodies. Basically, she goes to bed, right? And she remotely controls this robot that is in the shape of a human body. So there's a robot going around the world, talking to people, doing business, hanging out, making phone calls, whatever. And there's not actually a person in the robot. It's completely empty except for, mechanical stuff. But,
of course, at the same time, it's a little weird there because her ghost actually, don't want to get into Ghost in the Shell.
But it's like if I went to bed and this robot that looked like me went to work and I was remotely controlling that robot from my house in bed sleeping. So my biological body doesn't really have to do anything anymore, and I can conduct business in the real world with a humanoid robot that looks exactly like me and can function perhaps even better than I can, because if it dies, I'm completely safe. So I can do dangerous things, I can jump high, I can run fast because I'm a robot.
Now, see, it's not like Ghost in the Shell, because the big difference is that this, literally, you put a thing over your head and it's like VR, and you just control the thing and feel stuff. But you can just knock the thing off your head. Your ghost or your soul or whatever doesn't travel anywhere. There's no one's brain or body is you're not actually in this thing. If it gets blown up, you don't get affected at all. You just go, shit, my robot.
Yeah, it's no different than if I put a Robo Sapien on the floor and hand you the remote control. Only it's a much more advanced than a Robo Sapien. It can do everything that you can do. Only it's, you have holding a remote control in your hands. So
now, nominally, the story is, I don't want to talk too much about.
Yeah, we can't spoil it. It's just one book.
Yes, and I really don't want to spoil where it goes, but the beginning of the plot is that basically two people who are obviously both in surrogate bodies are getting it on in an alley.
Oh, man, getting it on with the robots.
Yeah, so someone comes and kills them both.
Obviously, someone who is anti-surrogate body.
Or just crazy. You don't really know.
Yep.
But basically, And from there, this comic follows the story of the police investigating this crime. But it also, what it does more so is it kind of explores the world and the ramifications of if this sort of technology were possible. I mean, and you read this, and it's one of those instances where the people who put this comic together, the person who wrote it, obviously took a page from every comic it ever read that was good. It draws heavily from the techniques used in Watchmen. It draws heavily from things like Dark Knight Returns.
Yep. You read this and you go, I see a little sign of everything that is good about comics, and it's all sort of comes together right here.
I mean, it even does the thing where like you read and read and read, and then like it stops. And then there's a few pages of an article from a newspaper from within the world, and it's just a whole article. You can just read it.
Yep.
And the advertisements in the comic are advertisements from the world.
Yep.
And I actually really like those advertisements because I remember thinking, oh, yeah, I could use one of these.
Oh, wait, that's not a real ad. Shit.
Damn it.
Damn it. I want a robot body.
I don't really want to get into the plot beyond that, but in terms of the world, I mean, this is actually well thought out in terms of how it considers these issues. Because think about it. If all the wealthy people and even the middle class people in the world, even some of the poorer people, are using robot bodies, gender and race suddenly don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, black man could use a white body, white guy could use a black body, guy could use a girl body.
In fact, they even talk about a political campaign where a person who was running for office, who happened to be white, used a black surrogate to run. Now, this wasn't like he hid and no one knew that it was actually a white man. that deep down, they all wants to be white.
Right.
Anyway.
Look at Tom, nigga. All right.
Black Rage.
Black Rage. Black Rage.
I haven't seen Jason
Orlando
Amy.
Calrissian.
I hadn't seen that movie in forever.
I only seen it once, and I was on a bus.
Bus.
Watching it on the Coach Bus TV.
I remember the last movie I watched on a coach bus was
That was the last movie I watched on the Coach Bus.
I had some sports movie.
All right.
Anyway, so, and it talks about the political ramifications, and he did it openly because his idea was, if I'm going to be representing this poor urban area, and this poor urban area happens to be filled largely with minorities, I should represent them both physically and electorally.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes into all these interesting things about how CEOs tend to be male, even though actually a lot of CEOs are female, but they use male bodies because of the social mores. And it talks about how some stereotypes become more enhanced, partly because of the fact that they're now completely irrelevant and arbitrary. And I think it does a really good job of addressing the kind of realistic expectations and ramifications of this technology.
Yeah, it also, it does the thing that every good book and story does is, by showing you a world that is not your own, they hold up a mirror to the world that is your own. The part that always gets me is the cop's wife who his guy is married to this woman. They're married.
Yes,
right?
You see the cop. Now the cop is good looking and young and awesome. And his wife is a sex bomb.
Yep.
But they're just surrogate bodies. They share a house.
Yeah, it's like they share a house. They live in the same house. But the wife has locked her biological body in her room and won't come out because, I guess, I don't know. It's hard to tell if she's actually ugly. She's probably all right looking in there, but she doesn't look as good as the robot body, which is always perfect and young.
She doesn't look as good as she did when she was young. Now she's middle-aged.
So she doesn't want anyone to see her, not even her own husband, because she only wants you to see the robot body, which is perfect in all ways. And she has serious image problems.
But at the same time, I mean, reading this, and there's action scenes, and how can murders happen if there's no people? Murders become property crimes, and as a result, people stop murdering anymore. Police officers, because you can use a surrogate body, anyone can be a cop. There's no physical requirement, so there's only mental requirements. Crime pretty much disappears because you can just use effectively deadly force against criminals, and even if you do, it's the same as stopping someone's car by disabling the engine. It paints a really interesting picture of a future that is not that far out of the realm.
No, I mean, Ghost in the Shell type technology is a little bit crazy. Remote control robots with an advanced user interface wirelessly is not that crazy. That's something that we could do that right now. It wouldn't be that good, but we could get that. That's definitely reasonable. I don't know if we could get it to the point where everyone could afford it and get enough energy to power all those guys walking around instead of people. But
eventually that happens.
Yeah.
Eventually. But, at the same time, there's large, crazy religious movements of people who think these things are abominations and they eschew technology and they try to live a primitive life and all the ramifications of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, the art in this book, I like it actually quite a bit. It's not like the greatest art in the universe, but it's sort of like this swirly painted kind of look. It's not, things aren't like super clear, but it's done. It's not like a lot of times when people do that kind of work, you can't really, tell one thing apart from the other. It's hard time to tell, is the character, that character. But in this, you can tell perfectly who's who and what's what at what times. You can even tell, someone's robot body, even if they made a robot body that matches their biological body, you can tell them apart. So that's, it's really cool how it's not like this crystal clear, sharply drawn, art that everything is perfect, but you can still tell what everything is awesomely. But at the same time, everything is really dark and you get this really sort of heavy atmosphere that goes with the sort of the painted look.
Yeah,
that really matches the world.
It gives you that same level of kind of oppression and claustrophobia that, I don't know, Blade Runner did really well.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a Blade
that
Runner
way. Like
kind of
everything's
world.
just closing in and everything's real and gritty the other thing I really like is that, the main character, the protagonist, the cop detective who you kind of follow through this whole thing.
He's like the guy who's outside the building in Die Hard.
Yeah, yeah, he is.
The guy from, the dad from Urkel.
But when you see him out of his surrogate body, which you do, you see a lot of people out of their surrogate bodies because, it's real world. I love the fact that he's paunchy and out of shape and kind of schlubby, but he's still in there. It's still him.
It's still him. He's all right. Because he went and got a surrogate that looked kind of like him, only, stronger looking.
It probably looked the way he did 20 years previous.
Probably. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd really want to avoid saying more because anything I say beyond this point could possibly ruin this book.
Yeah.
And
it's primarily a cop story, but also sci-fi, but also social commentary.
It's super well done. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, you should buy everything that says Top Shelf on it, but if you have to choose, you should probably choose Essex County, and then if you've already read that, you should choose The Surrogates.
Yes. However, if you're looking for just a quick, a single quick read, because it's a quick read, it's short. It was 5 mini issues.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be an awesome movie someday, we think, maybe. So if you read it now, think about how cool you'll be when it is actually, when all your friends find out about it. You can be like, I know what that is, I read it. You could be cool. Not like the people who are, only reading Watchmen now that there's a trailer. You could be cool like the people who knew about it before.
All right, and on that note, because you're obviously cooler if you know about something before someone else on
Exactly.
the internet, I think we're done.
We are done.
Well, we'll see you, hopefully, at ConnectiCon.
See you next year.
In a few days. Don't look for us until Saturday. We're going to be there Friday, but we'll be keeping a low profile, going out for drinks, that sort of thing. Don't try to find us. And if you see us, just kind of stay away. Saturday, come and say hi. Saturday, we're going to be all around doing stuff. Friday, costumes.
Yep.
Masks. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.